it is expected in the next 4 years, so that's 2029, that the industry will open over 1 million new plans. 1 million.
This is 401k Specialist Editor-in-Chief Brian Anderson, and this is the 401k Specialist Podcast. Today, we're going to focus in on the small to medium-sized business market, which, as anyone in the business knows, is a high potential growth area these days, with states implementing retirement plan mandates and benefits expectations rising among employees. To explore some of this market's challenges and opportunities, we're very happy to be joined by Stan Smith, Chief of Growth at Digital Recordkeeper 401GO. We're going to talk to him right after this brief message.
Have you ever set up a 401k plan in just 15 minutes? We do it all the time at 401GO because we are the tech-forward retirement savings platform built specifically for advisors with better things to do than spend 6 weeks mired in busy work and not getting paid. 401GO makes your job easier and your clients happier. Visit 401go.com today to see what you've been missing.
All right, we're back with Stan Smith, Chief of Growth at 401GO. Stan's a longtime retirement industry veteran who has also had leadership stints at Fidelity Investments, Save Daily, and Drive Wealth. And now he's helping 401GO expand into new market segments and deepen advisor relationships. And he's got a wealth of knowledge about the 401k industry. Welcome to the 401k Specialist Podcast, Stan.
Brian, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
All right. Well, first off, I'd like to start off by learning a little bit more about 401GO and particularly its fairly unique approach of utilizing retirement plan advisors as its primary 401k plan distribution channel. What's behind the strategy here?
Yeah, again, Brian, thank you for the time, and it's great to be here. So first, and hands down, I would say we're a fintech company. And if you're going to drill a little bit more down, and I know we always love to kind of put people in a box. So if you're going to put us in a box, put us in a digital record keeping box. That's where we fit. I'd say really kind of what makes us a little bit different against our competitors is when you can visualize owning the full stack. And that's where we really pride ourselves. So I want you to envision when you're talking about a skyscraper, from the first floor all the way to the highest floor, we own that whole code from the bottom all the way to the top. So when you're talking about the record keeping, the 316, the 338, all the way up to our APIs that feed into some of our custodial providers, as well as APIs, we own that whole universe from the ground up. One of the things I would also say is, look, we have deep expertise. We have over 20 designations that we support our partners where it's either QKA, CRC, CFPs, AIF, APA, and the like. We have deep resource and knowledge on the retirement space to support our clients. When we're talking about advisors, this is why we're here. That is our core focus, right? We support over 1,500 plus fee-based advisors. And really, this is everything we think of and live and breathe every day, whether it's from ongoing feedback, suggestions, our product roadmap, our advisory board, and or our voice in the market. So just to give you a little perspective, when you're looking at the 1,500 advisors, we break it down into wealth managers, retirement plan advisors, and the rest are dual registered broker-dealers. In order to support that growth, we've recently added 3 RVPs, one from Nationwide, another one from Farther, and then another individual from HSA Bank, and then an associate RVP from Bank of America. And the reason was for us to go deeper with our clients to support their retirement needs from a consultative perspective. And that will also help us to be more aligned to help them grow both in the wealth management and retirement space. You may ask me, how are we helping them on the wealth management space? Well, we just recently did a partnership with Apex Clearing. You'll see an announcement at the end of this month. And that's all. And the reason is to help advisors retain participants, right? The other one you may ask us is, how do we do it on the retirement space? Well, we're creating a referral program called Go Connect to help our non-advisor relationships. And then lastly, I would just say that we're also looking to help advisors, our asset managers, to get approved and added as sub-managers. And we've got a great list of firms and that will continue to grow, whether that's Mesero, Howard Capital, Titan, Caldera, True North, and the like.
All right. Well, now in our preparation for this podcast, you mentioned something about the notion of driving critical change. From the standpoint of the advisor, the plan sponsor, and also the participant, can you explain in a little more detail what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I love this one, and I'll make sure I'll try not to get too passionate. But it's how do we do it? And we're here to help. I think in a very big way because this industry does need change. Look, like you said in your intro, I've been in this industry for 27 plus years. There's there's been some great players out there, but we do need change. And what do I mean by that? So the thesis, right, we talked about is driving critical change, but how we do it is this notion of road to simplicity. So that road to simplicity can be broken down into kind of 4 areas. And let me walk you through that. The first level is, look, it's the advisory level. We believe that the advisor is the quarterback. They are the owner of the relationship. And by doing that, they also know that we don't have a channel conflict, meaning we don't have a retail division to go after the participant. All the features that we offer is real time. So when you're looking about making edits, participant access, viewing, white labeling functionalities, that's what the advisor is looking for in order to grow their business. And that's where we believe driving critical change is important. I'll talk a little bit also about when you're looking about the advisor's access, whether it's billing info, pricing, when you're talking about flat fees, basis points fees, monthly fees, quarterly fees. This all can be done with 0 human interaction or no back office requirements. So that's number 1. Number 2, I would talk a little bit about, it really is about the participant. So when you're talking about ease of use, simplifications from a UI, UX with easy to find, buttons to have better calls to action, those limited amounts of clicks to navigate through a UI, UX is really, really important. And then I would say, when you have great customer service, and this is where we pride ourselves in, we have this thing called a G2 rating of 4.8 out of 5. We really pride ourselves making sure that we can support the end customer for any kind of navigation questions. Number 3, I would say it also goes down to the plan sponsor, right? You have to make the onboarding easy. And what we talk about here at 401Go is on the setup, it's 15 by 15 and 15. So in 15 minutes, you can set up a plan with a minimal of 15 clicks and roughly about 15 basis points. So we're not here to intimidate the plan sponsor. We really want to have a better call to action. And I think that's where you're kind of removing the confusion of industry and ERISA jargons. We just want to have, for example, easy drop downs. So for example, you want to add your new payroll provider, you don't have to call the provider and get their information and the like. For us, it's really, you can drop down, search who it is. You can almost kind of do a Google type what you're looking for, automatically pops up and you click and you move on. And then the last piece from the plan sponsor's access is this embedded 316 functionality where we can sign the 5500, we can track the employee eligibility, and then obviously improve the loan distribution. So this is how we believe, the power is towards driving a critical change.
All right. Well, it's the road to simplicity. I love it. It actually kind of leads me to my next question. In a perfect world, perhaps every retirement plan participant would be working with a financial planner, but there's no way a retirement plan advisor can do it all themselves on a one-on-one basis, at least. What kind of resources or help is available for advisors and I guess even participants facing this issue?
Yeah, Brian, it's a great question. Look, I'm 49 years old. I have a lot of good friends in the financial services industry. And believe it or not, they still use spreadsheets, right, for budgeting and cash flow and the like. So I'm not sure that's what the next generation really wants. But we believe at 401Go, because where we started was more or less in the SMB market, is to make financial planning free of charge and available to every participant. So that's where it starts, first out. But that includes financial planning is budgeting, cash flow, net worth, spending insights, and goals. But in order to have a really good financial planning experience, it needs to start with account aggregation. So at 401Go, we have 2 solutions. We do use MX technologies on the back end. We also do use Plaid. But in order to get a good outcome on the financial planning, you do need to have account aggregation. I would also say that we make everything real time. So I want you to envision this. If you're having a one-on-one with your advisor, especially on the wealth management side, there may be a number of things that you may have to take away. The problem is things get in the way in life, right? So after you've spoken to your advisor, you hang up the phone, you have a one-on-one meeting, there is really no call to action. With our technology, I want you to envision this, Brian, or visualize this. During your advisor meeting, you could be doing a Zoom call, a Teams call, whatever that is from a video. And by the participant granting access to the advisor, you can do all of this in real time. So when you're making adjustments on rebalancing the portfolio, you're making adjustments on, let's say, your budget, you're looking to add accounts that you were maybe had forgotten. This can all be done in real time. And that's how you get real time results. And last but not least, I'd probably say that that's the right call to action as we live in the day-to-day busy lives.
All right. Well, now I'd like to shift gears a little bit to talk about the state of the industry as you see it, particularly as it relates to evolving technology and how that's playing into what's happening on the record keeping front. I know there's been a lot of talk about challenges facing some of the legacy record keepers, in part because of their legacy software. As you see it, what are some of the biggest problems or shortcomings of these legacy platforms, and what needs to change?
Boy, this is a really tough one. And I'll try to be as diplomatic as I can on this response, as there is a lot of change coming. So I would say, just for disclosure, this is purely my point of view. But if the change doesn't happen now, three things I believe will happen. Number one, you'll see more and more record keepers upselling. So very similarly to like the One America and Voya transaction. That'd be number one. Number two, unfortunately, was a lot of these regional independent retirement record keepers could potentially go out of business. And then the last option is, which is unfortunate, is what I call this notion of bleeding away. And what it is you're losing plans year over year with little growth. So it's not a zero-sum game, but unfortunately, it'll be kind of a 0 to -1 or -2. So what I think will make these changes really tough is because it's sitting on core systems. So I want you to envision this: when you've got your bells and whistles, everything sits on an old platform. And when you try to build value, enhanced tools, modern user experiences around your core business, so think of it more of like the crust and the mantle, and that costs money to first build it. And then the second thing is to maintain it. But if the core system doesn't improve, and that's the example of the mantle, your business is stuck really from an innovation and product enhancements. And I think that's really, really important. And unfortunately, I think, when you adding more people to the problem really won't solve to get some of the service issues resolved. I think the other aspect is, and again, it falls back into the core system, it's the level of innovation and scale problem. I would call this the domino effect. So I want you to envision this. So either an advisor or potential plan sponsor or even a participant wants a specific enhancement. So that request goes to the record keeper. Then after that, it has to get prioritized. And then it has to get prioritized to their core system provider on the back end. And that unfortunately takes time. And unfortunately, that may never happen. The third thing I'd probably say is pricing. So fees are definitely going down on the plan level, but I think there's also some fees that are going up to support the core system. So what I would call this, if you're looking on the investment side, it's almost kind of like an inverted yield curve, and it's not really a great business model from a growth perspective. So this could potentially have, impacts on hiring, retention, and obviously providing good customer service.
Right. Well, that's an interesting take. Now, beyond technology, there's another retirement industry topic I want to get your thoughts about. The small to medium-sized business market, by all indications, it seems to have a lot of potential for growth due to the state mandates, even the Secure Act, Secure 2.0 provisions, and incentives intended to make workplace retirement plans available to more workers at smaller companies. Yet it seems like a lot of advisors are still hesitant about putting a focus on the SMB market. What are you seeing out there today?
Yeah, look, if I could capitalize, it's huge. Huge opportunity for sure. And let me just define, how what we say SMBs, right? So small, mid-sized businesses. For us, we define that micro market, and that's for plans that are less than $5 million. So you could look at it to answer your question is from two perspectives. Number one, it is expected in the next 4 years, so that's 2029, that the industry will open over 1 million new plans. 1 million. That's based on a lot of factors, such as the Secure Act 2.0, the STAM May dates, all of that is embedded. But when you look at it, there's only 740,000 plus 401k plans in the United States. And I'm not so sure that the big box providers can support that level of volume in the SMB market. So that's number one from a growth perspective. Number two, and I think I'll kind of talk about some data that I heard from your previous speaker who was on your show, which was from KWP. She had stated something quite interesting at a conference where there's over 6.1 million companies in the United States. And I think that's part of the IRS data. When you're looking at, of the 6.1 companies in the US, 5.2 million companies have less than 20 employees. So there is a huge, huge opportunity in that market. Lastly, and I think based on the great opportunity, I personally think, as I've been in this industry now for 27 years, this is also another great way for advisors to recruit younger talent entering in this industry. Why do I believe that? Well, I think it's easier to do one-on-one meetings, learning the business with boots on the ground, than kind of trying to go after and earning somebody's goodwill of winning a $1 million high net worth client.
All right. Well, there's a lot of excitement about the small plan market, that's for sure, and some of those figures are amazing. Well, let's close out by taking a look forward at where you see the workplace retirement plan market heading. Anything that has you particularly excited, or conversely, even maybe a little concerned about what's on the horizon?
Oh, there's definitely more excitement than I think there's more concern. So I'll start maybe with the negative, because I'm a person that looks at the glass half full. I would say on the concern side, I think we're going to see a lot more record keeper consolidation. Number two, I'd probably say, the downward pricing pressures, that's my point of view on the record keepers. I think it's bad news for the record keepers, but good news for the participant. And then one I don't think people have really truly realized is this aging executive team within the legacy record keeping channel, right? How does that transfer of power or ownership to the next gen work out? I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet. Talking a little bit more on the exciting stuff, and look, I can't hide it, right? I'm surprised you didn't ask me, is the AI component. How do kind of record keepers embed AI? I think we want to be very careful, right? Because we're dealing with personalized information on behalf of the participant, but we're looking at AI in a very different way. Both what I would say on how we can automate and streamline and educate our folks from an internal perspective. I think once we leverage that internally, could we look to leverage that externally to our clients? I think so. But I think it's going to go from inward to an outward. And that's what's exciting to me for number one. Number two, I think if I'm looking at product enhancements, look, there's so many, right? Whether it's guaranteed income solutions, alternative investments is a huge hot topic right now with, I want to say, 26 trillion in potential opportunity. And also this whole notion of expanded dynamic QDIA for the aging population. The other one I would probably say is for our viewers to listen to is, how is the next generation going to consume or act, I would say, around retirement information, right? I consume my information kind of the old way, whether it was, reading the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg and Financial Times. But unfortunately, the next generation has a different way of consuming information. They may not read as much, but I think we have to start thinking on how to use video content and other avenues such as social media, YouTube and Twitter and the like. And then lastly, I would talk a little bit about this real-time experience or shortening retirement process. And I think we are very well suited to kind of challenge the system on saying, hey, an ACAT takes X amount of times, or excuse me, a conversion or a transfer may take anywhere from 90 to 60 days. Well, we're challenging that. We can do conversions in 30 days or less. So this is how I believe we'll be able to drive better outcomes, better results, and obviously happier participants.
All right. You did a great job of covering a lot of ground there. Stan Smith, Chief of Growth at 401Go. Thanks for joining us today and sharing your insights on the 401k Specialist podcast.
Thanks, Ron.